A wonderful morning to you and welcome. Thanks for always tuning in to Providence Television International. This is the Morning Drive of Providence Television International. I am Ugbeboy Kikwa, and as usual, I'm never alone in the studio. I have with me
Edna Cesar-Garrick. Welcome on board.
Lovely Friday morning.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. I knew you were going to say that. Well, moving. Well, so many people are so happy when it comes to Fridays. I don't know, maybe later on the program, Morning Drive, Edna will explain to us what's so special about Fridays. But before we do that, let's quickly look at the paper review this morning. We'll be looking at the papers and the front page of the Daily Times. We have French court seizes Nigerian presidential jets over $74.5 million dispute. Attorney General of the Federation says the Nigerian federal government is taking legal diplomatic steps to recover seized presidential aircraft. And still on the front page of the Daily Times, we have the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, advises immediate relocation as flood hits 27 states. A rider to that effect warns 362 vulnerable communities at high risk of flood. Still on the front page of the Daily Times, President Tinubu urges African leaders to address exodus of skills, talents. We'll move from the Daily Times to the New Telegraph. On the front page of the New Telegraph, Mpox, NCDC places Lagos, Abuja, others on red alert as Nigeria records 39 cases. Details of this on page 2 of the New Telegraph.
Moving on to the Matrix newspaper, it says diplomatic row looms as outrage trails seizure of Nigeria's presidential jets. That is coming from the Matrix, and still on that day we have Obi demands answers, says how did we get into this international embarrassment? And still moving on, Nigeria Customs Service intercepts 12 containers of tramadol, expired pharmaceutical products, markets at Apapa port. You get the details of all this news in the Matrix newspaper. And now to Business Day, the striking headline there says, retirees die of hunger 3 decades after 7 Nigeria. And still under the Business Day, it says Nigerians turn to betting as Premier League begins. You get the details of these on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper.
And moving ahead to the Nigerian News Direct newspapers, alleged $74.5 million debt. Presidency, Chinese firm in tug of ownership over presidential jets abroad. And we move from that to the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, anger as French court orders seizure of 3 presidential jets. Riders to that effect, issues arise over dispute between Ogun State and Chinese firm. Another rider to that effect, presidency says the federal government has no contractual obligation with Chinese firm. The Attorney General of the Federation says seized presidential jets are sovereign assets and immune from attachment. Still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, Senate denies receiving 21 million naira as salaries and allowances monthly. Details of this on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune.
And now to the Guardian newspaper. The striking headline there says Nigeria awaits Los Angeles Olympics after Paris 9 billion poll outing. And there's a rider there which says international embarrassment, says Peter Obi as federal government moves to recover seized jet. You get the details of this on the Guardian newspaper at page 7. And still moving on, court orders forfeiture of $2 million shares and property linked to Emefiele. You get the details of this on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Still on the Guardian newspaper, it says Senate defends running cost of lawmakers. You get the details of this also on page 3 on the Guardian. And now moving to the Daily Trust newspaper, there it says petrol pump price nears 1,000 naira per litre in Federal Capital Territory and states.
And with that, we come to the end of the newspaper review. I said Edna was going to tell us what's so special about Fridays, but that's not really based on that. She might have personal reasons for wanting Fridays to come around. All the same, we'll go down. Very, very embarrassing situation. Nigerian presidential jets.
Jets being seized. How can another country seize another country's presidential jet?
And that's why there's a looming diplomatic role. Let us see how this plays out. Providence Television International will definitely keep you updated as regards such issues. Fuel prices. I don't know, fuel prices.
Yes, Federal Capital Territory moving to 1,000 naira. How do you think the people there will be able to cope?
Yeah, is it just the people there? In almost all the states, I think about 27 states or so, the prices of fuel keeps increasing. And we have our economic team. They keep on telling us that things are going well. All the same, we'll have more analysis on this coming up next on the newspaper analysis. Please stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned. If you're just joining in, this is the morning drive on Providence Television International. On the newspaper analysis segment, I have with me Dr. Emmanuel Eyariva. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and thank God it's Friday. So we are preparing for a very beautiful weekend. Yes.
I don't know what it is about Fridays. I just said, thank God it's Friday. And my boss is also saying, thank God it's Friday. I'll get an explanation to that. Maybe I'll give it to you on Monday. But then we'll move straight away. Newspaper analysis for future of Emefiele's $2 million shares property. There is this feeling by Nigerians that this is a personal vendetta against Emefiele. Are you of this opinion?
I don't want to subscribe to that. Because in any case, if it was not personal vendetta, then he will have got scot-free. That's what it means, at least logically. Okay, but I think that, the issues about Emefiele keep recurring. That's the very terrible thing. Maybe we have not even seen the beginning. Okay, it's huge. The amount of sleaze from this fellow is huge. Now, $2 million, probably that's just one of the issues. And if you multiply that, how much is that in Naira equivalent? Then, of course, the houses. I was telling you about this only yesterday, about the element of greed in leadership. How can somebody be talking about owning 40 houses, for instance, at one stretch? Okay, it just doesn't make sense.
As a one-time CBN governor.
It doesn't make sense. I remember that Emefiele was gunning for the presidency.
Exactly.
Even as a public officer. The CBN, by the way, is a parastatal under the Ministry of Finance, okay? And you can imagine the central bank governor. I understand they even bought about 100 vehicles in readiness for campaign. A serving public officer. That was the rot. It was the height of the rot in the system. And Buhari couldn't do anything about it. That's why people are saying that what we are seeing now about the Tinubu administration, let us look back to the Buhari administration, because that must be the foundation. Okay? So Emefiele was the governor of the Central Bank of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right? We have had a lot of central bank governors. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo, was once a one-time governor. Yes. Sanusi was once governor of Central Bank. We didn't see all of this.
Okay.
Why must Emefiele's own different? And people are saying that every action he took was ascribed to the authority from Buhari.
Okay.
Yes, that's what everybody is saying. I mean, he could not have done all those things without the knowledge.
And do you think that is why individuals are saying that that is a personal vendetta against the man? Why has the person who has given the authority not been brought to book?
Exactly. So people are saying, rather than even point to Emefiele, let us point at his principal.
Okay.
Because quite frankly, I mean, there's nothing Emefiele could have done. Even the change of colors of the currency, I can't imagine if it was they called it what do they call it now?
It was kind of like renewal, trying to phase out the old.
It was all a scam.
Nigeria seems to be the only country that has two different
going at the same time.
Going at the same time.
At the same time, it is terrible. It is terrible, and it's endless. So when are we going to phase out this old one? When are we going to phase out the other one? So Emefiele was the brain behind all of this.
Okay.
But he was very close to the presidency. He was close to the presidency. We all know that. So if you are hitting at him, then why drop the principal?
Okay.
That's what everybody is saying.
So you're not faulting the judicial system and the EFCC?
EFCC, of course. I mean, EFCC is the one going after him. Yes. Why can't they have the courage to go after Buhari? Because in any case, I've said it before, we must have strong institutions. It's coming up again on this conversation. We must have strong institutions. Institutions that are ultimately independent.
Okay.
Yes. Institutions that do not rely on the presidency to carry out whatever they want to carry out. When we have strong institutions, it is then we can go after all manner of people in this country, regardless of their position. But some are sacred cows, of course.
Okay.
And we have seen it happen many, many times.
That's what we're seeing playing out in the case of the Emefiele issue now. And to correct this, what would be your postulation to correct such anomalies as the case may be?
Political will. Political will. And it is very important in leadership. The will, the willpower. It is very important. You must go, it's not a question of even being aggressive. All right, but you must do what is right in the face of the law. For example, it is law that governs a society. So when you go by way of the law, then you are doing things properly. And nobody will fault you for that. Nobody.
All right, let us move away from Emefiele. Alleged $74.5 million debt. Presidency, Chinese firm, in tug of ownership over Nigeria's presidential jet abroad.
It's a real mess, I can tell you. It's a real mess. And it's not a laughing matter at all. I mean, it just shows that things are not working.
Okay.
At the moment. Why must we even have that to start with? Yes, the question remains, why must we go into that? You know, but a lot of issues will arise subsequently after this program. We may devote a whole time to discuss it subsequently. But I think that it's a legal issue, by the way, and the government must come clean to defend whatever actions they have taken. We cannot be subjected to the whims and caprices of foreign bodies when it comes to national assets.
But we seem to be owning.
Yes, that's right. I mean, something must have gone wrong, obviously. So government needs to do a lot of explanation. Okay. Yes, to assuage the feelings of Nigerians. Because I know that many people are angry about this. I have a feeling that this will drag on, but it doesn't matter really. Government has to come clean. What has happened? Who are the culprits? Okay. Who are the beneficiaries? Yeah, we need answers. There are more questions but few answers.
Okay, the presidency says the federal government has no contractual obligation with Chinese firm. And so there seem to be two how do I put it, faces to the coin now. The federal government is denying any contractual obligation, and the French court is saying that some money is being owed to the Chinese firm.
So in between what has happened?
That is exactly the question that Nigerians are asking.
Yes, there are many questions but few answers. Okay, we must go to the foundation of the problem. I mean, ab initio, a lot of things were done. A lot of water will appear to have passed under the bridge. So, but we need a lot of, I mean, just not mouthing it to say that one or two things have happened. We need thorough explanation from the actors in this debacle. So I imagine that in the next few days, government will tell us more about what has happened, because I know that this is not going to die a natural death.
It won't die a natural death. And so, with your experience as a lawyer, do you see a diplomatic row in place?
To the extent that we can play our game well, okay, to avoid international embarrassment. This is almost getting there, for example. And, well, believe it or not, it remains a legal issue, and we must follow it legally. All right, because it's in court now in France. All right, I mean, it was France that gave the order that those aircraft must be seized. So it's a legal issue, and I think that we must be on top of the game to redeem image in the international arena. We must do it as quickly as possible.
All right, viewers, thank you very, very much for staying tuned. If you are just joining in, this is Providence Television International, and we just rounded up with the newspaper analysis. We're sliding immediately to the interview segment, and on the interview segment, we'll be looking at, still talking about embarrassments, an embarrassing issue, the Olympics that we just completed, Olympics that we did not come home with, the athletes did not come home with the medal, and they are saying they're looking forward to the next Olympics. What is your take on this? How prepared is Nigeria for the next Olympics?
I hope two things cross my mind. I hope the athletes will not disappear from there to the extent that they will not even want to come back home. That's number one. And two, I hope that even the government is not going to give them a heroic welcome. That after all, you appeared at the Olympics, because they have almost said that appearing in the Olympics is very important. No, it's gone beyond that. The Olympics have become a political weapon. Yes, sports is politics, mind you. I mean, I've spent all my years in sports coverages. I've been to Olympic Games and all of that. So, but this was a dismal performance. The nation should feel embarrassed. I haven't spent about 9 to 10 billion for the outing that became a deluge of failures. Even in track and field, where we were supposed to pick at least a bronze, our athletes, I don't know what happened to them, but they went down the drain. So, but I think that from now on we should start preparation. 4 years is just around the corner. I said it before on this program, that 4 years just around the corner. We think that 4 years, it's a long time away from now. It's not, because you have to make preparations for the various championships, world championships. They come before the Olympics anyway. So, but again, let me advise, and I said it before, let me say it now from the point of emphasis, that look, we must attach coaches, experienced coaches, to some of these athletes, particularly in individual sports, like boxing, track and field, and there are many which could have won medals, the hurdles in the sprints. Gail Amuson won at the Olympics, sorry, not the Olympics, but the World Championships in athletics. If you won a gold medal, the whole world was looking at her, but she faltered. And that was a big embarrassment, a very big embarrassment. We must attach coaches to them to coach them in various aspects of the sports in which they represent the country. And
so that brings us to sports administration. Sports administration, from your own take, has it been on the good side in this country?
I would say emphatically no. Because we always put the wrong people in the right places, which is much of a tragedy, really. I gave a little instance the other day. It's not rhetoric. Because you see, some of our sports administrators do not even know the nuances of sports. They do not. And the little example I gave should tell us a lot of stories. I mean, you are going for a major championship representing the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you are wearing Babariga as if it's a political outing. It's not. You must dress for the occasion to show that you are serious. It's like you're going for Olympics, the opening ceremony, and you are wearing Babariga all over the place. The whole world will laugh at you. Instead of wearing a suit, jacket, Olympics jacket, with a pickup, you won't do that. You wear Babariga. It's not a political campaign, mind you. It is sports. Even though sports is politics, but you must dress for the occasion, right? That's where this whole thing starts. We must put square pegs in square holes, round pegs in round holes. That's what has been happening. At the end, look, let me tell you, at the end of this dismal performance, let us see what even happens to the administrators of sports in Nigeria. I'm waiting eagerly to see what the federal government is going to do. Are they going to
sports enthusiasts are actually waiting to see if there will be a change.
There will be a change in leadership or even reprisal. I mean, you cannot allow 9-10 billion naira to go down the drain. What happens? They must explain what happens to the money. And they must set up a panel to thoroughly investigate this. So you will be surprised. Some of the findings may be criminal in nature. Okay. So that is what I imagine should happen. We should not just give them a part of the back of the hand that, oh no, you've gone to the Olympics, you represented. It's far beyond that now. It's far beyond that. I mean, look at small nations from the Caribbean winning medals. Even if we return with a bronze medal, our name will have been on the medals table. Okay? I told you, China. I mean, China, for instance, is giving the US a push. They're already a power, economic power, but they also want to be a power in sports. Sports is the... Look, sports has become so political that if you don't win, it's a minus for you in the international arena. And if you don't even go at all, it's worse. Look at the World Cup, for example. The World Cup, football, it is something that you cannot imagine. I gave you the example of 1996 in Atlanta. You know, was there, you know, and during the Abacha regime, they have spent billions trying to launder the image because it was a military junta. But here were this group of boys. From nowhere, they won the gold medal, the biggest of the medals, at the Atlanta Olympics. And the Nigerian flag was carried around the arena. People were asking, where is this country from? Nigeria. How? The Olympics medal, gold medal in football. We are still enjoying that outing till today. It's still a reference point. And it goes on and on and on and on. It has become a reference point. And thank God for those boys who won. They remain our heroes almost forever. Okay. Yes.
You've always been a sports enthusiast. As regards this
enthusiast. Look, I've covered, I mean, sports, you know, generally.
Okay.
Is it the World Cup? Is it Ogbe Court here? Track and field? All over. National Sports Festival, I've been there. So I can write an encyclopedia, really, on sports development in this country. I mean, it's just that we are living in a very terrible country. There are people like us who have been given awards for having... I mean, when I go in the midst of young players, sometimes, they remember that I'm one of the people who made them. Okay? I don't want to mention names here. But they always give me those accolades that I was responsible for making them through sports commentaries.
And that brings me to my next question. This issue as regards brain drain of athletes, sportsmen in Nigeria. How would you tackle that kind of issue?
We must improve on their welfare. What's driving them away? Because there's no welfare system. There are no facilities. Where are the facilities in this country? I keep asking. Again, it's not a rhetorical question because I have seen facilities. Where are they? Because we must build what they call fantasia, you know, something from outer space. That's what keeps sports going. All these boys and girls who migrate to the US, they are sure of their welfare, first of all, and they are sure of facilities. When you provide facilities for athletes, oh, they are happy. They are very, very happy because it keeps them going. And when you give them welfare, don't forget what I said the other time, that look, when they go to the US, particularly those of them who have no solid formal education, universities call them up and give them scholarship. They go through the system. They become graduates. While still participating, remember Obiekwelu of Nigeria, who participated for another country during the Olympics. So we must tackle these things holistically. We must pay the allowances. How can you be owing athletes, particularly when they're even doing well? How can you be owing coaches? It has happened. I remember Coach Zillian, for instance, who took the girls to the World Cup. They didn't pay him until he died. And he kept singing about it until he died. Okay? So we have issues about welfare. We have issues about facilities. We even have issues about training. How much training do we give them? Do we, technically speaking now, do we arrange their training programs in such a way that they are kept busy throughout the season? Yes. After a season or whatever, they just go into a respite. And that's not good for us. It's not good for us at all.
And so, on a final note, preparation for 2028 Olympics, the next 4 years, what would you proffer as solutions so that we don't experience the same dismal outing that we had?
I just mentioned them. Except for the sake of emphasis, that we must start training almost immediately. We must build facilities.
Okay.
Yes, facilities, I'm talking about world standard. Facilities that can compare favorably with what we have outside. Nigeria has all the money, I guess, to build all these sports facilities. If you go to Cote d'Ivoire, you will get to understand what I mean by sports facilities. You go to South Africa. I mean, I've been there. You go to South Africa, you will know what I'm talking about. Coming to sports facilities, you know, we are afraid. Usually, we are afraid to host sports facilities. To hold major sports events in this country because you are not even sure of power.
Okay.
It has happened before. In the middle of a major championship, NEPA goes off and you begin to run all over the place. It's one of the problems we have in this country. Yes. And that is why sometimes when we are bidding as host, that one, we are scared because of that, because of the power system. All right. And most of the countries that have hosted major championship, they don't have power, they don't have problems with power outages. So they are proud. Now, if you go to a country like South Africa, for instance, there are many cities in South Africa that can conveniently hold world championships. Okay. Conveniently. Yes.
So, if from my own deduction, would I be right in saying that from what you just said, Nigeria is not ready to host major events?
We could be ready if we stay on top of the problems. Okay. We could be ready. And we must pump money into sports. And it may not even just be government alone. It must be public-private partnership. There are many organizations in this country that are making money from here. It may not be a legislation as such, but through subtle appeal that, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of your earnings must be plowed into sports. Okay? But coupled with that, I'm thinking of that even as a person. Okay? To set up a foundation for sports. Now, what does that stand for? There are many sports heroes in this country who have been forgotten completely. And they have labored to put this country on the pedestal. They have labored and labored to put this country up there. But immediately they retire or whatever, they go into penury. And we forget them. It has happened to many coaches. We've lost a lot of coaches who have handled the national side. And they died in penury. In boxing, for instance, where is Davidson Ande? Okay. Yes. One of them died the other day. I think Charles Okorodudu. He passed on. He was ill till he died. Okay? Sebastian Broderick, he died in misery. He died. This was a guy who won the first Under-17 World Championship in China back in 1987. He produced Osondo and all these other boys. He died. He almost went blind, was diabetic and all of that. He died. Look at Shaibu, Coach Shaibu. He couldn't pay his house rent. Look at, I can go on and on. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I can go on and on. But in any case, these are facts. We must set up a foundation to encourage people. Okay. Look at the Begbe, for instance. Begbe has been down for some time. But for Fashola, the former governor of Lagos State, he will have been in a very dismal state. So, and I know them, by the way. I know them, and they have served. They have labored for this country. At a time when money was not even the issue. At a time when it was just glorious to wear the national colors. They did all. I remember, of course, naturally, I'm going to have a program, Personalities in Sports. You will see all those people. I'll bring them back to this station to talk about their exploits. Right? We missed it. We missed such opportunities. So when government is tackling the issue of serving athletes, they must also think of our heroes past. Okay, our past legends in sport. We must think of them.
And so, like I remember saying that we were going to round up, but this just came to me. The issue of National Sports Festival. Do you think that this could be a way, if it is continuous, if it is actually sponsored, if it is the way it should be, would this be a way of curbing brain drain?
It is from the National Sports. I mean, I covered in my active days, for instance. I covered so many, right from 1975. Okay, 77 I was there in Kaduna. The first two were held in Lagos. 73 that was the first games. 1973 during the military. 75 it was in Lagos. 77 it moved to Kaduna and I was there. It was regular. It was once in 2 years. Now, I don't even know what has happened to National Sports Festival anymore. It was there we discovered stars. Okay. And particularly for the old Bender State, we used to have State Sports Festival, which was keenly contested. We took the best and moved them to camp into National Sports Festival. I mean, I was in 1988, for instance, I was in Rivers 88. Okay? So I've covered a lot of the National Sports Festival. It is from there. It's a breeding ground. Okay. Pick up your best athletes and then put them for trials. either for African Games or Commonwealth Games or World Championships, as the case may be. So, but we need to bring such festivals back, seriously speaking. Seriously speaking. But unfortunately, in this country, there's nothing we do that we tend to go the distance. We go and we stop somewhere. We can't go the distance. Sports festivals must be brought back. They are not jamborees. They are not. Because there we pick up athletes who will represent this country. And I know a lot of athletes who were produced from the National Sports Festival. Nduka Odizo, for instance, in tennis, he was from here in Benin, a new era. Okay, but he became a world champion in tennis. In fact, he almost got to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon at the time. Okay, so and I have seen many of them. I have also known that it is from such festival that we pick up stars to represent us in various championships.
Well, like I would always say on the program, especially when it is one-on-one with Dr. Egariva, I have no idea of the time. The MCR just notified me that we've run seriously into the time for another program. But I would always tell you to continue watching and having a wonderful experience, especially as regards such interviews. Simply go to your YouTube. Simply go to YouTube and just type in on your search bar Providence Television International, and you see all our programs. You'll be able to watch all our programs. Like I would always say, sir, it's always an interesting session with you. We look forward to always have you in the studios. And for you out there, wonderful Friday. Like I said, by Monday, I should be able to tell you what's so special about Fridays. That's personal talk between my boss and Edna. They will explain to me what's so special about Fridays. Like I would always tell you, don't go away, as we have a whole lot lined up for your viewing pleasure. Thanks for staying tuned.